Hey guys, Lewis from Taggy Designs back with another video, and today I'm actually going to be teaching you something. So I don't know if you've noticed at the moment, but I keep seeing these design pieces on Instagram and Pinterest which incorporate like these glass pieces which make the design look more like it's an actual tangible object and an existing poster or album cover or something along those lines. Now 90% of the time these designs aren't actually using a real piece of glass or a real texture of glass. It's actually created in Photoshop. I have used this technique a few times in my own designs as I feel it gives my designs a little bit more depth and it seems more like an actual real piece. So stick with me and I'm going to show you how to make that for yourself. Okay, so today I'm going to be using the album cover that I made in the previous video, and I'm going to add a glass shape. So to begin with, you want to select the ellipse tool or any shape that you'd like really, and just put it onto the project. Make sure that the ellipse tool is filled in because we are going to be using a clipping mask on it. Now you want to duplicate the image that is going to be underneath the glass shape. Now that we've duplicated the image, we're going to want to create the glass effect that we're going to see through the shape. So make sure the image is here, and then your shape is here, and then the duplication of your image is on top of the shape. So to begin with, I'm going to add a filter, blur, Gaussian blur. I still want it to be visible, but I want to add slight blur. 6.2 works well for me, but you should experiment and see what works best for you. Okay, now I'm going to add a glass filter. So if I go to the filter gallery, and in distort, go for glass. As you can see, it creates this kind of effect. Now you want to play around and see what works best for you. So I'm going to turn the distortion down. Bring the smoothness up a little bit. And maybe bring the scaling up so that we can actually see the indents on the glass. That looks pretty cool. It's almost got like a slight frosted look to it. Right about there, that will do. Okay. So now that we've created that glass texture on the top layer, if we create a clipping mask, it will go within the circle, as you can see here. See? Now I don't think this is too visible at the moment, and I don't think it really looks realistic, so I'm going to add some effects to the eclipse. If we go into the blending options, we can add a stroke which will define the circle more. So you can adjust like the size. I'm going to put the size to about 25. And the opacity of the stroke around the circle. I'm going to keep this quite low because I want it to look like it's part of the glass. Maybe slightly more frosted than the glass itself, but you know. And then I'm going to add a black to white gradient. The reason I'm doing this is it makes it look as if a light is travelling from the top right and highlighting here, and the black part of the gradient creates like a shadow on the back. But then you can mess around with the scale. There we go. It looks about right. So we've got the shadow here and the lighting here. So although this is really cool, I don't think it's finished yet and it doesn't look realistic. The reason being is glass would still create a reflection even if it was see-through. So what I'm going to do is do the exact same thing. I'm going to add a gradient overlay over the actual shape itself. This allows me, look, I can move the gradient to how I feel fits best. I can adjust the scale. I quite like it like that. Again, the angle 45 degrees because the light is coming from the exact same direction, and black to white obviously, so that we have the shadow and the highlight. Then I'm going to set it to screen and adjust the opacity. And as you can see, the highlights have stayed there and the shadows are a little bit darker. Now that looks cool, but I still don't feel it's finished. I think it's because there's no shadow coming off of the glass. With no shadow, it doesn't look like it's actually on the design itself. So we want to add a drop shadow. There we go. That's a little bit too much for me, so I'm going to turn down the opacity. And the size. And just adjust these settings here until it looks realistic. So the angle is going to be 45 once again, because that's where the light's coming from. And just play around until it looks real. So of course as the light's coming from this direction, the shadow is going to be on this side. Looks good. So it's going to have a fairly dark shadow because it's very close to the, it's literally resting on the design. I'm also going to add a slight bevel and emboss so that it actually looks like it's coming outwards. You can adjust the depth. I'm using outer bevel because it's coming outwards. Mess around with the size. I quite like it like that. I'm going to soften it as well. Again, 45-degree shading. We want everything to match. I'm also going to add a slight colour overlay, just to add a little bit more of a frosty kind of look to the glass. However, you don't have to do this. This is just something that I'm doing as like a final touch. And there we have it. It actually looks like there's a glass shape on my design. Just adds a little bit more depth and makes a single cover look a little bit more interesting. Obviously not every design needs this, but I just think it's a pretty cool idea and it's good practice. There we have it guys, that's how you add realistic glass shapes to your designs. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to drop me a like and a subscribe, and there'll be more content coming out soon. Thank you for watching.